Hello everyone, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha and today I'm going to be talking about my December TBR. This is the time of the year that everyone gets so excited about Vlogmas and all of the Christmas content, and while I'm just as excited as everyone else, I've decided that I'm going to have a little bit of a slow down Christmas this year. So I'm not going to be participating in Vlogmas, but I do have a couple of videos that I plan to put out this December. I'll go over a couple of those through this video, but mostly I just want to talk to you guys about the 7 books that I want to prioritize on my December TBR. I have 5 of these books with me, and then I have 2 that are coming to me in the mail, so I don't have those yet. But these are all mostly Christmassy reads and a couple of cozy mysteries. These are going to be things like romance books or just feel-good Hallmark type books and cozy mysteries. So let's go ahead and get started. The first book that I have has been literally called a Hallmark Christmas book. So this was a book that I saw my friend Caitlin from Pride and Paperback recommend. I think it was last Christmas, and it sounded really good and really wholesome. I believe this author writes like romance, women's fiction. It's not like strictly romance. It is like regular fiction maybe, but it's like women's fiction. So anyways, that book is Christmas at Fireside Cabins by Jenny Hale. I love the cover of this book. It already gives me those Hallmark Christmas movie vibes. And this says, "'Tis the season for finding friendship, a place to call home, and a love to last a lifetime. Christmas is tough for Lila Evans. She's all alone, left with only memories of the heartbreaking time when she lost her father. But this year, Lila's in search of a home away from home, and the countryside retreat of Fireside Cabins sounds like the perfect place. Yet Pinewood Hills, tucked in the snow-topped Tennessee mountains, doesn't offer the small town welcome she'd been expecting. And when Lila stops at the local coffee shop for a much-needed peppermint latte, the rugged surly owner, Theo Perry, gives her a reception as icy as his piercing blue eyes. Unfortunately, avoiding each other in the quaint village is impossible, which means Lila is soon bumping into Theo everywhere. To her surprise, Lila discovers there's more to Theo than his frosty demeanor, and when Lila sees him smile, it feels like sunshine on a cold winter's day, like coming home. To chase away her holiday blues, Lila makes it her mission to warm up Theo, even if the town warns her that it would take a Christmas miracle." This sounds like such a good story and one that's probably going to tug at my heartstrings. I have no doubt about that. I also love that it takes place in the Tennessee Smoky Mountains because I don't quite live there, but I live close enough and I live in Tennessee to just enjoy that setting. I love it so much. I think, again, this is going to be one that probably is a tearjerker for me, but one that is very wholesome and a great Hallmarky type Christmas read. Next, I have 2 books of the same name that I'm going to read in tandem. Well, not in tandem, but I'm going to read them back to back for a vlog. So I was really excited to read Faking Christmas by Carrie Winfrey. Earlier this year, I read Carrie's book, Just Another Love Song, and I absolutely loved it. This author, from what I've read of her so far, which would just be the previous book and then what I know of this book, she writes closed door or fade to black romances. So if you don't want a lot of extra smutty stuff in your books, these would be good ones to check out. But I've been very much anticipating this one, but there's also another book of the same title that I'll talk about in just a minute that I'm going to read after this one, and I'm going to do a little vlog of both. But first, let's talk about this book. It says, Laurel Grant works as the social media manager for Buckeye State of Mind, an Ohio tourism magazine and website. She most definitely does not run a farm, but one tiny misunderstanding leads her boss Gilbert to think she owns her twin sister Holly's farm just outside of Columbus. Laurel only handles the social media for the farm, but she's happy to keep her little white lie going if it means not getting fired. She cannot be jobless again. And keep it going she must when Gilbert, recently dumped by his wife, invites himself over for the farm's big Christmas Eve dinner, as advertised on Meadow Rise Farm's Instagram, thanks to Laurel herself. Laurel immediately goes into panic mode to figure out how she can trick Gilbert into thinking she's basically the Martha Stewart of rural Ohio and keep her job in the process. Laurel and Holly come up with the perfect plan. All Laurel has to do is pretend to own the farm for one dinner, but Laurel shows up at the farm to find an unwelcome guest is waiting. Max Beckett, her nemesis since Holly's wedding. The annoyingly attractive man she hates will be posing as Laurel's husband just for the evening. But when a snowstorm traps them all for the entire weekend, Laurel is going to have to figure out How to Survive with Her Job and Dignity Intact. Whatever the case, this promises to be the most eventful Christmas in ages. This is going to definitely be a cozy little Hallmark Christmas book as well. I love that it is an enemies to lovers type romance, and I love the cover of this one too, especially just with the little snow globe that they're holding with them in the middle. I think that is adorable. I'm just really excited to read this one. I'm glad it's a shorter read, which that hopefully means I can get through it quick so I can pick up this other book called Faking Christmas, which I'll have to read the synopsis off Goodreads because I'm still waiting on this book in the mail. I think it actually comes in tomorrow, but this book is called Faking Christmas by Cindy Steele. This is, I think, book 3 in a companion series called the Christmas Escape series. Now, these are literally all just companion books. They're not books in a series that you have to read in order. Typically, I would want to start with the first book, but because I've read so much on this one, I think I'm good to start with book 3, and then if I like the other ones, I'll just go back and read them. But again, it is a companion series, so some of the characters might show up, but it's not going to be one of those situations where you have to read the others first. So I've heard lots of great things about this book. It says, one little white lie. That's all it took. Now I'm suddenly having to fake date my work nemesis to get me through a week at a Vermont Christmas lodge with my family. The problem? I can't stand Miles Taylor. Not only that, but I don't date people I work with. But I can handle it. I've had practice faking my emotions for years, so it shouldn't matter that Miles never lets me get away with anything, and that he happens to boil my blood hotter than a steaming pot of wassail. Wassail? I don't know how to say that word. Don't come for me. So when he throws his annoying grin my way or forces me on dates he knows I'll hate, I'll just grit my teeth and smile. Or maybe not. Did I mention that Miles is the one person in the world I can't seem to fool? When my emotions begin feeling less like a sham and his arms feel way too comfortable, it makes me think that maybe Miles had a plan of his own, and I'm starting to like it a lot more than mine. This sounds, again, like an adorable Hallmarky Christmas romance. This one is also like an enemies to lovers, so I love that both of the Faking Christmas books are going to be like fake dating or enemies to lovers type stories. And I also love that this one takes place at a Christmas lodge because I love stories like that. Those are some of my favorite Hallmark stories, particularly the ones that, and I know that's not happening here, but particularly the Hallmark movies that are about restoring a lodge or somebody's trying to come in and like take over the lodge and corporatize it, like, that's probably not the right word, but make it a more corporate, not small town, homey family setting. But they save the lodge and all that stuff. Yeah, I love those. So the fact that this is set at a lodge is good enough for me because I love those types of settings. Also, this book is going to be one that is a closed door. I think it's, well, actually not even closed door. I think it's a clean romance, only like just kissing. So that's also a positive. So I'm really excited to see if I don't want to compare the two books, but I'm still excited to see like what I think of both of them, if one's going to top the other or if I'll love them both just the same. Next, I'm going to be reading The Bridge by Karen Kingsbury, and this is actually Revive Book Club's kind of optional buddy read for December, I guess. So in case you don't know, I host a Christian book club over on Instagram and YouTube called Revive, and it's a bi-monthly book club. We just finished up our November pick, but I really wanted to do one in December, and I was going to be reading The Bridge by Karen Kingsbury anyways, so I just decided to open it up as a big buddy read. We aren't going to have anything super official with it. I think I might do some reading sprints, but I'm not going to do like a live discussion. We'll just discuss it in the Discord, so if you want to hop in on that, you can join the Revive Discord. I will leave the information for Revive linked down below if you're interested in joining us. But The Bridge is going to be my first Karen Kingsbury book. I'm really excited for it. I know a couple of my friends really love Karen Kingsbury. My grandmother really loves Karen Kingsbury, and I love the setting of this book particularly, and the one that I wanted to read first by her is this one because The Bridge is a bookstore that is set in downtown Franklin, which is just south of Nashville, and it's based on a real life bookstore that I have visited before called Landmark Booksellers. So let me tell you a little bit about this one. Molly Allen lives alone in Portland, but she left her heart back in Tennessee with a man she walked away from 5 years ago. They had a rare sort of love she hasn't found since. Ron Kelly lives in Nashville after a broken engagement and several years on the road touring with the country music duo. He can still hear Molly's voice encouraging him to follow his dreams. Molly, whose memory stays with him. At least he can visit The Bridge, the oldest bookstore in historic downtown Franklin, and remember the hours he and Molly once spent there. For 30 years, Charlie and Donna Barton have run the bridge, providing the people of Middle Tennessee with coffee, conversation, and shelves of good books, even through dismal book sales and the rise of digital books. Then in May, the 100-year flood swept through Franklin and destroyed nearly every book in the store. Now the bank is pulling the lease on the bridge. Despondent and without answers, Charlie considers the unthinkable. Then tragedy strikes, and suddenly everything changes. In the face of desperate brokenness and lost opportunities, could the miracle of a second chance actually unfold? The Bridge is a love story set against the struggle of the American bookstore. A love story you will never forget. I honestly feel like this could be like my favorite Christmas read. I really hope it is. I hope it's a great first Carrie Kingsbury for me. Very, very, very excited for this one. And lastly, I have 3 cozy mysteries that I'm planning to read. All of them are continuations or the second book in a series that I've already started. So the first book on my list is Read and Gone by Alison Brooke. This is the second book in the Haunted Library mystery series, the first one being Death Overdue, and I read that this past fall. It was a great read for Halloween/Thanksgiving, so fall is definitely a good time to start this series. And I love when the series just go on with the holidays and filter through Christmas. So this is going to take place obviously during Christmas. I love the cover of this one. And this follows our main character, Carrie Singleton, who is a programs librarian. In the first book, she is having a program at her library where they are going to discuss an unsolved murder, and at that event, another murder takes place. So that's kind of the setup for the first one. I don't really know what the setup for this one is, but if you like a story featuring a librarian that takes place primarily in a library that also is haunted by a sweet little character that I'm not going to tell you who because I don't want to spoil it, but it's a very precious presence and it doesn't feel like a haunting at all. But if that sounds good to you, definitely check out the series. The second book that I'm planning to read, or the second cozy book that I'm planning to read, is Death in Dark Blue by Julia Buckley. This is the second book in the Writer's Apprentice mystery series, the first book being A Dark and Stormy Murder, which I recently read in November and absolutely loved. It is my new favorite cozy mystery of all time, so as you can probably tell, I am very thrilled to get to this next one. So this story follows our main character, Lena, and Lena is quite infatuated with Camilla Graham, who is a romantic suspense author. That is her favorite author of all time. Lena herself is actually a writer, and it just so happens that her best friend was in a knitting club with Carrie Singleton, the author, and she talks up her friend, and Carrie ends up hiring Lena, sorry, I'm getting names mixed up, but Carrie ends up hiring Lena to come and be her co-writer/assistant, and then obviously there's a murder that takes place in the first book. That one is a great fall or November read especially, and I'm not sure if this one takes place around Christmas or not. It may be just past it, but either way, I'm really excited to get to this one because I know it takes place in winter. And the final book that I have on my list, I don't think it actually takes place in wintertime. It may take place during summer, I'm really not sure. But I really want to get to this one because it's been about a year since I've read the first book in the series, and that is If Books Could Kill by Kate Carlisle. This is the second book in the Bibliophile mystery series, and the first book was Homicide in hardcover. This one takes place, I believe the first one took place maybe around New York. Okay, I know this is like 2 totally different things, but it's either around New York City, Boston, or LA. And I know those are all very different, but it was definitely a big city versus a small town, but it took place in a library. The main character is a bookbinder, and I thought that was the most fascinating part of the story. There is a book exhibit that's coming to this place. There's a murder that happens. The main character is kind of like looked at as a suspect, but she's also sleuthing. There seems to be potentially a budding romance with this one, but it's a lot more subtle than some other cozy mysteries. So this is going to continue in that series. This one says, a haunted city, a forbidden masterpiece, and a deadly threat are all in a day's work in the life of this brilliant bookbinder. I believe this takes place at the Edinburgh Book Fair, so I'm really excited to have that kind of a setting. It is going to be different from my wintry books, but it'll break it up if I need that. And these, along with the 2 books, again, that I don't have yet in the mail, are going to be all the books that I put on my December TBR. Now, that's not to say that I might not read some others, but I just want to have a really chill and cozy December. I want to do all of the things that I want to do, and sometimes that might be reading, sometimes that might be cozy gaming, sometimes that might be watching Hallmark or Christmas movies, and I just want to go out with the end of this year, not necessarily with a bang, but just kind of drift on into the new year. I know that I've already met my Goodreads goal of reading 100 books in a year. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on myself to read all the things, and these are the books that are really calling to me and making me feel like happy and joyful in this moment. So these are the ones that I want to read. But make sure before you leave to let me know down in the comments below what book you're most excited to read this December. And if you have nothing else to leave in the comments, if you would leave a Christmas tree emoji, that would be so much appreciated. But I always appreciate and love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, friends.